the President of the Indian Council for Cultural Relations, Mr. Vinay Shahsrabuddhe. Thank you very much, sir. You waited very patiently. You know, I actually wanted to speak to you about an opinion piece that you wrote, and you said that the consecration of the Ram idol at the newly built Ram Janmabhoomi temple shouldn't be just seen as a religious event. You know, this whole debate that we have seen through the last few months has been about how it is, a religious event which is being milked politically. What did you mean when you said that it is not just that?
See, because as it happens in India, Ram is not considered just as a Hindu deity. In fact, there is a debate whether it is a mythological kind of a story or it is a part of the history. And there are good reasons, solid enough to believe that it is a part of the history of India. And therefore, the divinity of Ram is not something which is only confined to the Hindu belief system. As it is, we Hindus believe that there is an element of divinity practically in every human being. But that apart, the divinity or the divine element that we see in Lord Ram, as I said, is beyond any particular belief system. There are many Muslims and people who believe in other belief systems as well, who consider that Ram has an element of divinity, and therefore he is worshipped, and more than worshipped, he is seen as an ideal human being, somebody who epitomizes fundamental human values.
You know, you've also made a very interesting comment about how it is a moment of cultural rebalancing. Is celebrating occasions like the Ram Mandir Pran Pratishtha enough to protect our culture from the threat of Western distortions?
Well, it may not be enough, but at least it is a beginning of the beginning. And I have referred to the Gateway of India thing basically as earlier the Gateway of India was a symbol of people entering into India. Now what has happened, that Indian values, Indic values have become so very relevant to the Western world as well, whether it is our value system, whether it is our way of worshipping Mother Nature, whether it is our balancing between the individuality and collectivism. So all these things now the Western people in the West of the world have found it very essential to understand from India. And therefore, Indian culture is now being seen in a different perspective, because it is only in India that cultures have continued without any break on the one hand, and have withstood the onslaughts of the invaders and aggressors. And which is why our External Affairs Minister, Mr. Jaishankar, had in one of his speeches mentioned that time has come that we should have some kind of a cultural rebalancing, because Americanization of the culture has been a process which we have been a witness to for the last several decades. Now, the limitations of everything which is West-centric or Eurocentric, now people have realized them, and therefore they are looking at with great expectations towards the Indic culture.
You know, Mr. Shahsrabuddhe, you've just said that Lord Ram also is held dear by many Muslims. We had Mr. Farooq Abdullah, who said that Ram doesn't just belong to Hindus, he belongs to everyone. However, this is also coming in the context of a lot of politicization that has happened of the Ram Mandir inauguration. How do you, for one, assess the political commentary that we have seen over the Pran Pratishtha?
No. In fact, because of politicization of Ram temple issue by the secularists, and Mr. Farooq Abdullah represents those secularists in a way, and now they have realized that henceforth we just cannot oppose the idea of Ram temple being reconstructed in Ayodhya. And therefore, Mr. Farooq Abdullah, in a way, the situation has compelled him to say that Ram is not just of the Hindus, he doesn't belong only to the Hindus, and Ram is of the entire nation. This is a wisdom lately dawned on him, which I welcome, obviously. It's a good thing that he has realized that, and that has been what we have been saying all along. We never said that Ram belongs only to Hindus. Ram is like a national hero. That has been our contention all along. And I'm happy that it has now dawned to Mr. Farooq Abdullah and people like him. And therefore, the politicization, what you are talking about, we are at the receiving end of that politicization. You know, in Somnath, for example, in 1950s, when Dr. Rajendra Prasad, our former president, decided to go for the resurrection of a renovated Somnath temple, people in the government, including Prime Minister of that time, Jawaharlal Nehru, had opposed it. And that opposition was political, I would say. Mr. Rajendra Prasad going there as President of India was not at all political, because India and the idea of India will be incomplete if we don't include, let's say, Somnath temple or the Ayodhya temple or Kashi Vishwanath temple. Can we imagine India without these temples? We cannot.
But Sanjay Raut has imagined that the Ram temple which is being built is 3 to 4 kilometers away from where the Ram Janmabhoomi actually is. In fact, he even said that bola to tha ki mandir wahi banayenge, but now it is away from the site altogether. What are the facts about this?
No. As per my information, it is very much in the precincts, because I have gone and I have witnessed, I have seen where the Ram Lalla was, the idols were kept right now, and how around that only the building construction was happening. So it's a figment of his imagination. He was earlier a part of the BJP-led alliance. Now, of course, he has, deserted us and joined hands with the Congress and the entire secularist cabal. So he has to find out some reason or the other to assail BJP, and that is what he is doing. Mr. Raut very well knows where exactly is the birthplace of Rama and where exactly the temple is being constructed. His observations and allegations do not merit any attention.
Now, so we also saw a survey which was done by the Muslim Rashtriya Manch, which claimed to have found that 74% Muslims are actually happy with the Ram temple being built in Ayodhya. A lot of people naturally have dismissed it because it's a affiliated body of the RSS, the Muslim Rashtriya Manch. Can we actually believe that 74% Muslims will be in favor? Can there be reconciliation in the back of acrimony that has existed for close to 4 decades?
Precisely. No. Therefore, see, the response of the Hindu society, if you recall, when the Supreme Court judgment came, at that time also we all who believe in the RSS ideology and who consider themselves as a part of the wider parivar, we were told by our leaders and we observed that whatever may be the court verdict, we have to behave in a very responsible manner. Even if the court verdict is in favor of the temple, we are not supposed to unnecessarily go to the rooftop and do a clamor in such a way that it will create some kind of law and order issue. And therefore, the behavior of the Hindu society in response to the worth celebrating verdict was very responsible, very, I would say, modest in its own way. And therefore, today, when our Muslim brothers and sisters, and as your survey is pointing out that 70% of them have no objection to the Ayodhya temple, and majority of them also favor the continuation of the government led by Narendra Modi ji, I think it is least surprising. It has been our belief all along that Indian Muslims do revere Lord Rama, and therefore they would not be in the heart of their heart opposing the Ram temple, and the survey, I think, establishes this fact.
Now, Prime Minister Modi is undertaking an 11-day set of rituals which are required ahead of the Pran Pratishtha. He is going across the length and breadth of the country to places where Lord Ram visited, like Panchvati, Lipakshi. Do you think that this public display of religiosity is at odds with those who say that secularism should represent a divorce between religion and state?
See, those who are teaching us about secularism, including people in India and people out of India, they must understand that religiosity is one thing and spirituality is a different thing. India is basically a spiritual democracy. We are a spiritual society, and therefore all these things definitely matter. There is no element of, and it's not every now and then that these kinds of things happen. If in the UK, for example, even the Church of England is authorized to appoint as many as more than 50 members in the House of Lords, and if these people are going to tell us about secularism, what value is there? In our country, we are completely secular because theocracy as such has no place in our worldview. Never was India under any theocratic rule, even in the past. Even the Islamists, in the name of Islam, could not impose a theocratic rule entirely on India. And therefore, in India, everything has been kind of born secular. Nobody needs to tell us about secularism and religiosity and things like that. The reverence that we have towards our temples, which are in fact monuments as well, it's something which is there all along, and it certainly transcends in general terms what is called as religiosity.
So Vinay Shahsrabuddhe, thank you very much for speaking to us. The countdown has begun. The set of rituals at Ayodhya have begun today, and over the next 5 days, it's going to reach fever pitch, culminating, of course, on the 22nd of January, a date that will be written in gold in India's history. Thanks for watching.